right? If you don't like something in your life, then fix it. You don't like your job, go out there and do something different. In order to get different results, you got to try something different, meaning you got to change.
You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Downloadable audio episodes can be found in the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie, Calls on Call Extraordinary Answering Service, as well as the Bold Business Book. And today we're welcoming / preparing to learn from Sean Ginsburg of SG Consulting. And I believe, Sean, we're chatting about real estate, which is always a good time.
Real estate's the best thing in the world, man. How you doing?
The
Thanks for
best
having me
thing.
on.
I love it. I love it. So let's just lay a foundation here. What is SG Consulting?
SG Consulting is where you come to for your one-stop sales, handling objections, lead generation, prospecting, learning what it takes to close deals. Anything that you can think about sales is what we do. So whether you're a brand new person that's looking to start a business, whether you are have already started but you're looking to take your business to the next level, or you're an advanced entrepreneur, we have everything when it comes. We're like a grocery store, but for salespeople.
Nice. All right. So are businesses coming to you, or is this more an individual thing? Somebody's selling cars and they're like, I'm not selling any cars. I need help.
So we do individuals, but we also have like dynamic programs for bigger organizations so that we can come in and actually scale their sales teams
Right on. And how did you get involved in essentially the sales training vertical?
through real estate, actually. So
All right.
I um I was selling real estate as a real estate agent for a long time. For about 5 years, I was personally doing between 15 to 20 million in personal production, and I got really bored doing it, to be honest. And
Oh no.
I found more, fulfillment by teaching people how to go make 30, 40 grand per property, right? So I kept doing wholesale. I still do creative finance. I do all types of deals like that. I just don't do much of the retail side of things anymore. So I was running offices with 200 real estate agents, and one of my mentors had a program, and it was basically to license his content and use that content inside of my brokerages I was training. And so I'm a certified elite business coach with Grant Cardone. So I've used his program to kind of leverage my own offer because I don't have, the giant training course. Well, we're building one out right now, but we didn't have all of the sales process that we needed at the time. So I
Yeah.
was using his content and then just training the agents based on that. And I'm like, wait a second, this is really working out. Why not just do this for all businesses? So we started doing home services because my dad's a master plumber. My brother's got a plumbing business as well. We started doing, HVAC, landscaping, electricians. I got 3D printing companies, just any business that really wanted to get to the next level, whether they had four salespeople or 400 salespeople. We were able to go in, create a sales process that, we can track, monitor, adjust, and align, a step-by-step process for them to hit a specific target every single day, every single month, and every single year.
All right. That is cool. So Grant Cardone, I've been a follower of his, not as religiously as I think a lot of people do, but I guess in the business world, everybody's got their gurus of choice. So
Sure.
how did you land on him versus, I don't know, any just insert sales trainer here?
Oh man. So, well, that takes me back to the time when I just first got into sales. So, I mean, I went through everything, man, everything. Jim Rohn was one of my favorites, Brian Tracy, the Buffini, OG Mandino, like all of the greats, Earl Nightingale, uh, Napoleon Hill, all these guys. And I'm like, wow, like who's the modern day version of these people?
Mm-hmm.
And Grant's it, man. I mean, there's a lot of people that hate him. There's a lot of people that love him, man. It's either you hate him or you love him. So he took all of that content and he made it in the modern day world. So I found him and I'm just like, dude, I relate with the guy. I like the guy. He's doing a great job. Like before I met him, I sound like him. So I was like, it was a perfect match. So I started going to his events, just getting into his stuff. And like, it was never this corporate, like like handling objections and like no, it was always like me and my brother, like calling my brother out on his BS. You know,
Oh,
it was
nice.
always, yeah, it was always me like talking to my sister or my mom or like my cousin. Like, come on, man, what are you talking about? Like, tell me the truth. Come on, man. Like, really, come on, what really happened, right? Like that type of style for me, that's where I thrive versus trying to like put this like, I guess you could call it the corporate, like trying to save face. Like, no, no, no. Like, I had more fun with that style. And I figured that somebody else did it so I could like, oh wow, it was okay for me to go out there and like be myself and sell versus like trying to act like this corporate like amazing like nah, screw that. Like be yourself and help somebody make a decision. So that's kind of the story along how I found Grant and why I ended up going with him. But I have
Right
multiple
on.
mentors. I have one other mentor that actually says, you know, one mentor's like following a cult. You got to have
Fair.
multiple
Totally fair.
mentors because you have to have a cabinet of people that help you, a cabinet of advisors like the president has. So I have multiple advisors, if you will, that help me on very specific things.
Nice. You know, it's interesting. I just read, or I shouldn't say I just read. I'm in the process of reading two books. One is Principles by Ray Dalio, and the other is something on culture of the business, but I can't think of it right now. But it's interesting as I'm
Traction?
reading these two books. Say it again.
Traction?
No, but ironically, that book was recommended to me earlier today, and it was one of those like, I've had that on my list for a long time. I
It's a
should
great book.
probably, yeah, I have read a book called Traction, but probably not the one you're thinking of, because the one that I read was not the one. Well, I thought I had the author here for Traction, but because I believe there's two books called Traction, or there's probably more than that. But one is like the business book called Traction, and I read this one that's like B Team, the business book called Traction. So,
Gotcha.
anyways, yeah, I forget. It's by someone woman that works in Silicon Valley, that worked at Google and Apple and all this kind of stuff. Anyways, in the introduction of that book, she mentions Ray Dalio and principles and essentially says he's wrong. And it's just
Wow.
funny because I'm reading Ray Dalio principles at the same time, I guess just different parts of the house. And it's funny because it just reiterates what you're saying that you need to have multiple mentors because there's nothing set in stone and no one knows that for sure this is the right answer. These are two successful people that are both saying literally opposing things. So
Right.
kind of, and they both sold, bestseller, whatever. So you both, or you get to read them and then you get to decide which way you're going to go. So it's all good. So I completely understand having multiple mentors. So you get more opinions,
Yeah.
more guidance. Some of them are probably filling in cracks that the other one doesn't even know they have. There's different personality types, the Grant Cardones of the world. I mean, think of him versus Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy's, from my point of view, take a nap, and Grant Cardone is let's get her done kind of thing. So not
Yeah,
to say that,
exactly. Like
yeah,
it's huge. Brian Tracy is like more I would go to him for more self-development in a sense, and it's very much more a calm, laid back, like um, tone versus Grant is like, dude, get out of your head and go take action and you'll get a result. The result's either going to be good or bad. If it's bad, go change the task and you'll get a different result,
yeah,
right? So it's yeah, I mean, each person brings you something different, but I like Grant sales, right? Like Jim Rohn was self-development for me. Brian Tracy was like organization, right? So each
mm,
one of them had their purpose inside of like what I needed the most. Like John Maxwell, leadership. If I want to learn leadership, I'm going to John Maxwell. If I want to learn sales, I'm going to GC. If I want to learn organization, Brian Tracy's the best dude that I know,
all
right?
right,
So it's just kind of give the audience a little bit more of a thorough understanding of why I do that. Because
yeah.
there's people out there that choose one person. They're like, that's the one person. And I think that there's a lot more you're missing out on if you don't have the opportunity to keep an open mind and hear from somebody else that may, do the same thing, but specialize in something different that could give you more value in a different
Totally
context.
agree. Totally agree. I'm a big Tony Robbins guy, but
Okay.
from a time management thing, I feel like his time management thing is I'm not a fan. And when you go to his events, he starts them an hour and a half, 2 hours late. whatever. Just like
Right,
a
right.
concert, which is funny because I'm like, the irony here is that we're wasting thousands of people's time. Wasting. You're still getting to chat with people that are attending, which is arguably better than the event itself. But it's
Sure.
funny that I love them for all this stuff except for that one thing. So I got to go find someone else that I like the way that they do the time planning thing. So no big
Right,
thing. I
right.
don't hold it against Tony. It's just like you to expect one person to be everything to everybody as a very tall, unrealistic order.
Completely
So
agree. 1000%.
yeah. So tell me how you got the Grant Cardone stuff, you doing the sales. How do you go from using it to actually training and teaching other people how do you use it?
Master it. You got to master the content. It's like I do a lot of jujitsu. I wrestled for 13 years. So I can do those moves in my sleep. I can do it unconsciously, right? It just comes to me. It flows to me. I know exactly what's going to happen. I can bait people into trying to take me down because that's what I want them to do. And I have a defense to it. It's the same thing. So I got so good at using the material that just like Grant, how he repurposed all the content and made it his own, I did the same exact thing. So I took Grants and Jim Rohn, all of this stuff, and I made it my own. And I internalized it, and I have my own way of presenting the material, if you will, and using it. So, once you like level one white belt, like once you kind of understand what you're doing and, you learn kind of you're going to get choked out for a long time, you get to the blue belt level where you
Right.
can start to like do the moves and you start to really understand what you're doing. Once you get to the purple belt level, now you're like getting dangerous, right? All the way up to a
Mm-hmm.
black belt level, like you're so good at it, you've mastered that stuff. Like it just comes to you. Objections, they're just not objections. They're actually questions in the mind of the consumer that they're willing to work with you if you answer them the right way. So I went from just using it every day on the consumer to then packaging that up and saying to the salesperson, listen, you're missing out on sales because I was just like you. I can relate to, the struggle and the frustration of you not closing a deal because you are going in there winging it. You're going in there blind. You don't have qualified prospects, right? Or on the next level, I've built sales teams, and the sales teams are not hitting KPIs. They're not motivated. They're not holding themselves accountable. They have no personal, professional, financial targets in place to keep them motivated and accountable to hitting them, right? So all of these little nuances, I just started to take note of, and I started to really understand if I solved all of this for myself, there's people out there right now that are struggling, killing themselves because they don't know. They don't have the knowledge or the wisdom to go out there and make more money by helping more people because they don't have a process that they use every single time.
Fair. Totally fair. You raise an interesting point, and I want to delve deeper into that if you don't mind.
Sure.
So you're managing teams and helping them do sales and all that kind of stuff. You mentioned the motivation thing. Can you detail how you would get people to have something to do all this for instead of just saying, do it for me, do it for your job, do it because we pay you to do that? That they have something outside kind of higher in themselves? How do you get people to
Ex-
believe or find a goal that they're working towards?
So, well, that goes to first and foremost, the company. What is the company's mission? This gets into really typical like standard branding, like who you are as a business, who you are as a company, what's your mission, what's your core value, what problems do you solve for people? Like if you have clarity around the problem you solve for people and like why you do what you do, your mission statement will actually attract the people to your business that want to help build that mission with you, right? You're not just bringing on employees. That's you're never going to get you'll bring on rotten apples that spoil the whole bunch. One bad apple spoils the whole bunch. So it's not necessarily motivation because motivation, you get to a point where it's nonsense. It's actually discipline, right? And if you can align the person's personal, professional, and financial goals with the company's, and you know why they want to come work with you, you can they can hit their goals simultaneously by hitting your targets. So you guys are working in this symbiotic relationship. But if the company's mission and core values don't align with this person over here that wants to join, it's like as a business owner, you have to make that decision to say, hey, you know what? It's just not the right. option for us. Maybe you could do well in this division over here, but for this position, it's just not going to work. We're looking for this. Like you guys got to get clarity around like the positions that you're hiring for. Like for a salesperson, if I'm hiring a salesperson, they have to have that personality traits of, like grit, grinding, like they got to be willing to do whatever it takes to succeed because they're going to get choked out. They're going to get punched in the face. They're going to get armbarred and triangled over and over again until they understand and learn the game of sales, which is it takes a lot of rejection to learn the process that you need to go through and take somebody through to understand how to get a sale closed to help somebody make that decision that's right for them. So it's really, I think it starts with the company first and aligning what makes the most sense based off where they're at. Like where's the company want to go? If you're at, $400,000 for the year and you're trying to get to 1 million, like why? Getting to $1 million, what will that do for you, your team, your families, your team's families, right? Because then once you get to a point where you're making so much money, it's really you're not making money for you. Now you have to keep this up. You're playing not to lose because you're feeding families. Like look at some of these companies that have thousands of employees. Like if they close the doors, they just like put a lot of people in duress. Like what are they going to do? So I think motivation, I could take it one step further. It's not really motivation, it's discipline, holding them accountable to their targets, making sure as an owner, why they're there working with you. Because if not, you just have another number in your organization that will eventually kind of just die off and not really be helping you. And that's becomes they're robbing you or you're robbing them. You're robbing them of their time. You're robbing them of the responsibility of taking care of their families, right? So you have to have that ethical, moral obligation to really want to help them, which in turn they're going to want to help themselves and help you as the business because you're giving them the opportunity.
So let's delve into that a little bit deeper. Because I'll give you an example with one of the employees that I had. I was trying to connect my employees' motivations with the job, like you were talking about. And one of my mentors, sales training using Sandler, said when you hire someone, find what they want and then help them understand how or if this job can help them achieve that goal that they're after. And so I said, hey, crew, what are top three of your personal goals? And most of the crew was like X, Y, and Z. Here it is. One of my crew is like, that's none of your business. And it took me aback because I thought, I don't really care what your goal is, right? I want to help you achieve your goal, but I'm not going to judge your goal and say like, hey, it's a terrible goal. It's none of my business really what your goal is. You say what your goal is, so we're going to help you achieve that goal. So what would you say to someone that was like, it's none of your business? An employee, I should say, that says it's none of your business.
Sorry,
No, you're
that shouldn't
good.
happen. So what I would have done is number one, as the owner, that raises a huge red flag.
Should have.
Huge red flag, right? But I now know, like you always applaud in public and you correct in private, right? So, I mean, if were you having like a sales meeting or something?
No, no, it was just an email. Just an
It was an
email.
email.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh,
Completely.
yeah.
I
Well,
sent
so
a email to everyone so they could respond individually, but it
got it,
wasn't,
got it.
no one
Okay.
else would see this besides just me and
I
them.
thought it was in like a large group setting, and I was like, wow, that person must have really had guts. Well, I now know that's a red flag. I would have actually wanted to have conversation with them. I would make it so that, they came into the office or whatever, and we just have a 15-minute meeting because there's something going on inside of their life that probably they needs attention, and it's probably affecting them professionally and financially because it's personally something there. So that's how I know that something's not aligned with us and them. So I would have just taken them aside and say, "Listen, I'm here to support you. Like you may not think that, you may have some stuff going on, but what can I do to help? How can I support you?" Right? We're not babysitters, but at the end of the day, we are. Right?
We're totally babysitters. Yeah.
Right.
We
You
don't
know,
want to be,
we're,
but we are.
Right, we are. We're there to not sit there and feed them this carrot. We're there to show them how to get the carrot. and they're, this taking full responsibility for everything in their life. That's something I picked up from GC. Like you have to take full responsibility for everything and anything that happens in your life, good or bad, or if it's your fault or not your fault, right? Because at some way, shape, or form, you created it, right?
Really.
So I would have just pulled them aside and really kind of dove deep on the what what's going on. Like you work with me, like you don't work for me. I work for you, and I create the opportunity for you to be here. I want to make sure that I'm the right person bringing you the opportunity for you to hit your targets. So if you don't mind me asking, what's a little like, what do you mean by like it's none of my business? Like I would straight up just, call out the white ele or the purple elephant. Like what do you mean? What do you mean when you say that? Could you talk to me a little bit more when you say that? Right? And then just see what they said and kind of take it from there and just keep it really non-emotional. Like sales is never personal. It's
No,
always I agree with everything you say and I'm really going to help them come to the decision that something needs to change within them because I'm here to help them achieve their targets. And if I can't do that, then obviously it's just not the right fit at that point.
I love that line that you said where they are not working for you, that you are working for them. I've been trying, I guess that line is one of those things where like I've been trying to reiterate something that essentially means that to my employees, but I could never figure out a concise way to say it. And that's perfect. I love that.
I'm glad.
Yeah,
Excellent.
that's super cool. Because I tell the employees, like, my job is to keep you guys employed, keep you fed, because whatever it is that you're spending with the money that I pay you, that's on me to supply that. In exchange, you share with me your time, you do a good job, rinse, repeat, all that jazz. But I don't know, it seems almost societally there's this thing where we hate Mondays, we love Fridays, and we hate bosses. And I'm like, I don't know if I don't know if any of those are good ideas. But
Right. I think, well, that's the social norms, man. It's like people are, they don't like Mondays because they had a weekend. They're weekend by the weekend. They're going
oh,
out, they're
nice.
broken. They're broken. They're out, let's go get wasted. Why do you want to get wasted? What do you want to stop thinking about? Right? If you don't like something in your life, then fix it. You don't like your job, go out there and do something different. In order to get different results, you got to try something different, meaning you got to change. Right? So I think a lot of bosses out there, it's like they're the boss. Do what I say. It's like you wouldn't be the boss if you didn't have people there to help you build what you've done. And actually, Gary Vee does a really good job of that. He will give the tickets to people and all that type of stuff to the games, and so I picked up some stuff from Gary too. A lot of these people I pick up stuff from, but I think like you need people to scale and grow your business. And if you don't find the right people, that's when you don't have the right people in the right seats. Jim Collins says it best. Like you have to find the people that are going to fit the seats, like fit on the bus, and make sure that
Mhm.
the person driving the bus is the best person that'll get you to the destination. And if not, you kind of maybe have to change that up a little bit. But
Totally.
you're right, man. A lot of people are going after that weekend. Don't go get weak on the weekends. Go work. Go find some stuff to do with your family. Stay up. Stay energetically high so that you can constantly get to work and hit and smash your targets. Most people don't have targets. They're going to work. They're, sitting in traffic. They're doing all this stuff to just make ends meet. And that's what
Hmm.
most business owners don't understand. They're not there to work for you. They're there to help you grow your empire. And if you don't see it that way, then you have some serious stuff that you should probably look at that could help you as a human help themselves, the employees, get to where they want to go. So ultimately, if you're raising them up, they're only going to help raise you.
Fair.
Symbiotic relationship.
Totally. Let me ask you the question that's been asked about salespeople all over the world. Do you
Sure.
believe that salespeople are born or made?
Made.
Made. I love it.
Made.
Tell me why.
People, I came out of the womb on a closing table. No, they're made. Like maybe born as in every person who's born is a great salesperson because as a baby you sell your parents everything that you want. But in a sense, they're made. You have to train, practice, role play, rehearse. Like a baby does not know how to go close a $5 million deal. A baby does not know how to take somebody's problem and turn it into a solution until you've practiced and learned and, you know, taught yourself how to do it. So I think they're made because you need to understand your craft. It's just like riding a bike. A baby don't come out of the womb. You can't put a baby on a bike and make sure it's going to ride it and do some, 360s on it. It's impossible. No way,
Right.
right?
I love it.
So I think as an artist in jujitsu, for instance, like I get choked out, I get tapped out. I didn't come out a black belt. Like I have to go earn that black belt. So no, they are definitely made 100%.
Tell me, fair. I love it. Tell me about the people that come to your classes, your presentations, and all that jazz. I imagine there's some people that just pick up on it, and other people that struggle a little bit, just like with any skill. So the ones
Sure.
that struggle a little bit, what do you do with them to help them move in the right direction?
So I'll throw this out there right now. Most people out there that say all of their students all succeed, that is absolute nonsense BS. Okay? There's people out there, you can lead them to the water, they will not. You can lead a horse to water, the horse won't drink the water. If the horse don't drink the water, God can't help that person. The unit, whatever you believe in. So if the person's not taking action, there's nothing that we can do other than really ask them those deep, hard questions. And for anybody that's listening, like you got to be willing to ask hard questions. And the only reason you won't ask hard questions is because you're either A, afraid to lose the client, or B, you haven't asked yourself those hard questions. So sometimes you got to do some internal work to like really be able to hold space to handle somebody in that time to be like, listen, man, like you joined this program because of ABC. Right now, there's no commitment. You are not interested. Like you don't want to do this. You've made this many phone calls and you're getting choked out. You're getting armbarred. You got bloody lip, man. You got a black eye, and you're just like giving up, dude. But what you don't see is this is what's preparing you for those $20,000 days. So like what's stopping you from like it's really just the conversation of like what's really getting in the way? What are the barriers that are limiting you from where you want to go? Right? And it's most of the time they're not sold on themselves. They're not sold on the product. They're not sold on why they do what they do or the problems they solve. So it's taking them back to like the root. Most people don't get to the root, right? And that even in sales, in a sales call, they get to the objection, like the close, and they get all these objections. It's all surface level. You guys got to dig deep under that iceberg, man. There's a lot of stuff that comes up. I've had people on closing calls that turns into this spiritual enlightenment talk where I'm talking for the next 40 minutes on like, okay, and I'm just asking them questions, you know, right? So it's
Yeah,
it's it's more of getting personal with them, I guess, in a sense. Like really putting them first and trying to understand what's going to make the difference. Because I was there. I made 400, 500 calls a day and was getting choked out and, getting people rejecting me all day. It sucks and it's not fun. It's only fun when you know what it takes to get the deals and how long you've practiced and trained for that for somebody to take you serious. And until
fair.
you get to that level, that skill level, you're only gonna get beat up, but you got to be willing to
Fair.
get beat up.
Right. I love it. You remind me of a story. I was at a Tony Robbins event. I don't know, this is probably quite a few years ago. It's definitely pre-pandemic. And they had a little break. And I don't remember if it was one of those 4-day date with Destiny, whatever it was. It was my second event. And it's interesting because I was talking to people, just like you meet people and all this kind of stuff. And they're like, this is my
Sure.
fifth event. This is my seventh event. This is my whatever. Usually a way bigger number than two. And I was like, it's just my second. That's right. I'm not quite drinking the Kool-Aid by the gallon or anything like that. Still great stuff. Anyways, during one of the breaks, I see this woman that I actually saw at the last event that I was at probably 5 years ago. So and she's sitting down and she's looking kind of sad, kind of sulking in this kind of corner of this lobby of the conference center that we were at. So I'm like, hey, are you okay? And we had a conversation for a couple minutes. She was just like, basically, I'm fine, kind of thing. But the music was starting to come up and the people were starting to jump up and down, crowd of 10,000 people. And I asked her, I'm like, how many times do you come to an event like this? And she's like, oh, this is my 15th. And I'm like, 15th event of this you rah rah, pump you up, get you growth mode, 1000%. And she's looking like she's almost on the brink of suicide. I don't think you need another event, man. I think you need a mindset shift that if this isn't hasn't done it in 15 times, you gotta find something else. But it's very eye-opening to think like, oh, I was treating this event like, oh, I'm feeling kind of a little bit lower. I should probably go to one of these events and get pumped up, take my medicine, kind of thing. But meeting her the second time in that mode, in that place, of all the places, like, oh, it's it's all up here, man. This is
Right.
help, right? The event is going to help trigger that and all that jazz. Meeting these people, super great. But in the end, it's all up here and responsibilities on you. So that was really, I mean, hopefully she's doing better now. Sure she is. But it's one of
Well, you
those that
brought up a
it's cool meeting her, seeing her in that place to help me figure out, like, oh, this is what's got to happen here.
right, and you brought up a huge point because most people they're called seminar junkies, right?
That's a
They,
thing.
oh yeah. I mean, think about it. A lot of people just go and do seminars because they are searching out here externally. It
That is
helps
crazy.
them, it helps
All right.
them it helps them be distracted. They're looking for the next thing, the next shiny object.
All
Oh,
right.
it's
So
gonna
I'm going to
help.
fix this thing back in February or whenever I'm going to go to this next event. I can kick my can down the road until that thing and then just rinse, repeat.
Yeah, man. And it's like if somebody Bob Proctor said it. I mean, if somebody would just sit and listen and think about who they want to become, right? And you have that clarity around like who that person looks like, what they do, how they do it, like you'll start to think about the actions and the tasks you got to take. And most people just don't take the action. Like they're just standing in their own way. It's like here's the end zone, and they're like an inch from it, and they just won't step into the end zone. It's so hard. It's so heavy. Just walk in. Just walk right through the door. Just walk. Just you spike the ball right in the end zone. You know, so it's just taking that extra step. It's really believing in yourself. You know, and I tell people that one of the most hardest sales that I've made, and Grant talks about it too, is my selling myself every
Oh,
day on why I do what I do. So I got expelled from high school and my life was over and I all-star wrestler, lacrosse player, and I'm like, my life's over. Like I suck. I'm an example. I'm a statistic. And then that was the hardest sale to resell myself on the belief in me that I could go out and do whatever I wanted to do. This is my chance, my opportunity to go show people. So what? This adversity, this setback, this is exactly what needed to happen, for you to grow from this type of, situation. Now, maybe a young kid's listening to this, don't go get expelled, right?
no,
But
that's not right. Like, this is the checklist of how to do it. Oh, get
right,
expelled.
right, right.
So
But
tell
it,
me
it,
really
it
quick, you
just
don't have to go too deep in there if you don't want to, but just what was the trigger for you? You get expelled, so you're at this moment. Did a mentor come along, or did you watch a show, listen to a program, or were you smart enough to be like, wait a second, this is not the end. I have choices.
well, I think I was smart enough because what I was surrounded by, well, what you are surrounded by is what you're influenced to do. So your environment is a huge factor. And it was like, after high school, I'm going to go move out to California. I wasn't going to college. I didn't want to go to college. My dad's a master plumber. And I'm like, well, I can do that, or I can go try to do something and make something of myself before I just be a plumber. So basically, after I got expelled, it was like, nope, you're going to stay home. You're just going to do this. You're going to work. You're going to, dig ditches. You're going to be a plumber. You're going to be, the best plumber in this city. My dad's great. He makes great money. Plumbers are awesome. I was like, yeah, dude, my knees hurt, my ankles hurt, my back hurts. Like, let's try something else first. And after that happened, I just would sit and think to myself, and based off all the people I'm watching, I'm working in restaurants and selling cars and motorcycles, and I'm like, dude, this is not it. I don't believe this. Like, and the universe was like, dude, you can still go to California. There's no reason you don't have to. Like, you're not a failure. Like, failure is what makes success. Failure is what makes you better. You know, when you're uncomfortable is where most growth happens. So I figured, do it anyway. Just move out. Just see what happens. So it was really just a realization. Like, I used to go outside late at night and just think. I had wood. I was surrounded by the woods,
Oh,
but I would
nice.
see like in my restaurant I worked at, it was very fine dining, and I'd see the same guy 20 years behind the grill, he's flipping burgers, and I'm like, dude, there's got to be another way. Like that's this not it. This is not. And every person like, hey, should I move to California? Why you want to move out there? That's ridiculous. It just gave me the reassurance. That's exactly what I should go do. Everybody else is selling me why they gave up on themselves, and I'm going to sell myself on my dream. This is exactly what I need to do. There's something out there for me that I don't know what it is, but I'm going to go figure it out. Even if I fail, at least I can say I did it, I tried, and I learned, and I had an experience.
I love that. That you remind me a little bit, not I mean at a later stage in life. I was a mechanic for a long time and mechanic in Wisconsin. And if you don't know Wisconsin, we get snow and salt and all that crap, and it gets stuck behind the mud or in front of the mud flap of the tires.
I
So you bring
see.
that car into a warm garage and you lift it up. Eventually, that snow and stuff like that comes down, and it doesn't
Right.
come down in pretty little flakes. It comes down in huge chunks. And I got this car raised up, and I'm changing oil or something like that, working on the car. And I walk underneath the car, underneath that mud flap, and I get this huge chunk that goes right down my back of the snow,
Mm,
dirt, and salt. And I was like, and I'm looking around and I'm like, how long do I want to be here? There's a guy that's been here 30 years. There's a guy that's been here 25 years. These other guys have been here 5, 10 years, whatever. I was the new guy after being there for a few years. And I'm like, I don't think so. Because you look at them and you're like, do I want to be them? Is that because that is your trajectory right now is that. And it's really cool that all it took was that chunk of snow to be like, I'm gonna find somewhere else to do this where I'm not getting mud down my back and stuff like that. Um,
right.
so it's interesting because I love working on cars, fun, chatting with customers, good times. But the little things where you just realize I don't want to do this with my life. So, but it wasn't like I could go to someone and be like, "What do you think I should do with my life?" They're gonna be like, "You're doing great as a
Right.
mechanic, man. Rock and roll with that." So it's like you were saying that you just had to reflect yourself and think, what do I want to do to figure out that step? Because no one's going to give you an answer that's going to be accurate except for you. So, and even then,
Right.
you don't know.
And most people take, other like Earl Nightingale said that opinions are the cheapest commodity on planet Earth.
Oh, I love
And
that.
most people take other people's opinions for what it's worth. Like most of the time I'm externally searching or I ask somebody, "What do you think about this?" I'm listening to what they say, so I do the opposite.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because I know internally what the right answer is, but that's a practice that the audience, you guys should understand. Like, search within you. You are the universe, right? So you have the conversation, and some of the people may be asking, like, well, how do I have that conversation? Who am I? What am I? Where am I going? What's my life purpose? You constantly ask those questions, I promise you, you will get someplace. You will get somewhere. It's kind of like you go into the attic and there's like little spiders and cobwebs and little rats. Just, don't worry about them. They ain't gonna hurt you. Clear them out, make a little nest for them. It's all good. But sit there in the attic and think about those questions, and you will come up with some solutions. And those solutions is the actions you need to take. And then if you come up with that, your external world will be 1,000 times different. But it starts with you. It starts with you. It's the biggest thing.
Fair. That's totally, totally true. I used to joke with people, business coaching clients that I had, where I'm like, all I have to do is ask you a question that if you asked yourself, you could do this for free. I'm just a
Right.
trigger, right? Because in the end, no one's going to ask themselves a question and their brain's going to be like, I don't know. I don't know. your brain will always come up with an answer. So sometimes the skill set is just asking a better question. So I love that, especially in silence when you're not being bugged or your phone's ringing off the hook or something of that nature.
And that
Tell me,
the trick is to do it while you're distracted. When you get really good, you can do it when other people are talking and yapping. That's when you've mastered it. Go ahead, tell me what. Go ahead.
no, well, I guess you allude to something interesting because I will sign up for classes, knowing that I'm semi interested in the thing, but more because I know that my phone will be off. I'll be in a place where my employees aren't bugging me. And while the instructor's chatting, teaching, doing their thing, I'll end up daydreaming and solving a problem in either marketing or dealing with an employee or sales acquisition, whatever, stuff like that. That if I didn't give myself that time, I would never have gotten in that position, I guess, mental position to answer that question. So it's so interesting that you'll go to this class that's probably like HR 101 or something like that. And you're like, this is how we need to build the phone system in your head. It's
Right.
interesting how your brain just works in those ways. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes upstairs there, but
It's the state of mind. It's you know that you've paid for that time for you to take the time to learn what it is that you need or what you wanted to learn. And it's so funny that you say that because a lot of the times, you know, you go to the grocery store, for example, and you're like, yeah, I gotta get some toothpaste. And you walk out with tomatoes and rice and all this other stuff without the freaking toothpaste. Same
yeah.
thing, right? So I always like to create a practice, a ritual, meditation, jujitsu, a sport, something that you can do every day to get in that state of mind. I forget who it was, but he would sit in his chair with his keys and he would fall asleep. And every time he fell asleep, the keys would drop and wake him up. And he would be in that, I think it's the theta frequency. And he would be able to come up with these crazy ideas. I forget his name, who was doing it. Um,
Huh.
but
This is a
there's
real thing, not a TV show or something like that?
no, I'm dead serious. He
Oh
would
man,
he would
I'll have to
fall
check it out.
asleep in a chair in all blackness. He would tell his people, "Leave me alone. I will come up with an answer. Just don't come in this room until I've come out." I forget who it is. I'll have to look it up.
Like a
And he would,
CEO or something like that?
yeah, here, I'll look it up. I'll look it up.
All right, that
Uh,
is man. I just learned, oh, I guess this was in that other culture book that I was reading, the one that opposed the principles book. They're talking about a guy that was CEO that would sit every 2 hours, scheduled time every single day, and that was a permanent meeting. Don't schedule anything over this kind of thing. And that's where he came up with all the ideas to do the things with the company and all that kind of stuff. But I guess he treated it like, I suppose, oh, what's the blood transfusion type thing that you have to do? If you don't do that, you die kind of thing. If your kidneys shut down. I want to say
oh, I
transfusion.
don't know.
Um,
So it was Salvador Dali, but it was
oh,
also Thomas Edison did it as well. But Salvador, it says while the So a serialist painter would hold a key above a metal plate, and as he drifted off to sleep, the key would fall and clang against the plate, waking him up as just he was entering the hypnagogic state, a phase between wakefulness and sleep where vivid imagery can occur, potentially sparking creative insights.
huh. But
Yeah.
Salvador Dali's an artist, right?
Uh-huh. But there's
So he
also
was just
CEO.
coming up with.
Man. After this, it's gonna come to me after this. But
No, I'm
yeah,
putting
man,
you on
there's
the
people
spot.
that
It's
do
all
it.
good.
Uh,
All good. That is interesting. I'll have to try that. I'll have to tell my employees, don't bug me until you hear the metal clang and my keys falling. That is
Well,
cool.
I mean, it could just be a meditation that you sit for 5, 10 minutes, man, or like you go on a run and you're thinking about something, or just go take a walk in nature. I love being by the water. I live by the ocean. Cold
Nice.
water is amazing for me. When I'm doing jujitsu, I'm always, solving problems in my head, and all of a sudden I'll go write something down on my phone real quick. Um, right when I wake up, sometimes in the middle of the night, I'm always thinking about, you know, weird stuff that doesn't make sense right then and there, but I write it down anyways. And then during the waking hours, I'm like, oh my God, I can fit that piece of the puzzle right here, and it just happens, right? But you got to
No,
be conscious to those coming to you, right?
I completely understand that. Having the notepad by my bed has been one of those things where you're just like, what was my brain doing that came to mind? You write it down the next morning, you're like, that makes total sense now. But when you write it down, you're like half asleep. Put it down. That is cool. I love it.
Right.
So, Sean, the people that you're working with, are they typically real estate or are you offering sales training to everyone?
So my ideal client uh, is real estate agents, brokers, or teams. I've actually just transitioned into home services. We have if you, I have SaaS companies. Basically, whatever service or product you have, if you're selling something, I can work with you so long as you have a sales team and a somewhat of a process. If you have none of that, I can build it. But if you're starting from scratch, you kind of just have to, that's just basic sales training at that point. But for like a home service company that has 5 trucks on the road, I know what problems you're having. I know your people aren't following up. I know that you guys are sending out bids every single month and you're not getting them approved. You're not getting them signed on, right? As a SaaS company, I know you're presenting products. A lot of the people are analytical. They're spending way too much time on those calls, right? And they're not closing deals. Like there's so many little nuances in the sales process that if you just cut a lot of the stuff out and tighten it up, there's so much more time in a day to help more people and close more deals. So the reason real estate's ideal is because I know real estate better than anything ever. So if you're talking to me about how to, sell some SaaS company for a pharmaceutical industry, it's like I can give you all of the data, but you're going to have to take the data and then insert your product into the data, which obviously we have programs where we customize it and I'd have to take a look at the sales process, the product, the service, and do it myself. Um, but ultimately, yeah, any business, man. It's like I said, we're like a Walmart for sales organizations.
Nice. So, is it just you doing the training or do you have a team?
So right now, it's me. I have a sales team of 10 people, and then I'm actually training somebody right now who's gone through my training, built their own sales team, and knows the content like I do. So we're actually implementing a mastermind where he'll do it maybe 2 or 3 days a week, and I'll do it the rest of the time. But
Oh,
mainly,
nice.
it's just me right now.
All right. And the majority of your training, is it remote or is it in person?
So it depends on what program they choose. Obviously, yes, there's options for me to come in person, fly out there, do sales workshops, sales meetings, 1,000%. Mainly, most of it is all online, all remote.
Okay. And is this a one shot, one kill kind of thing where you go for a day, train, and then you're out? Or is this a residual every week, every month, every quarter, something like that?
So the way that I would customize it, it's got to be ongoing. Remember, you're like going to the gym. If you go to the gym one time for 1 hour and never go again, you will definitely not have a six pack.
Yeah, I did my
So
push
you
ups for
That's what
life.
I'm saying. You got to constantly be training every day. So we have, protocols to have this every single day. We have systems out there and courses where it's every day. We can track, monitor, and actually see the numbers that the salespeople are putting in. We can see how much and how long they've trained. But most importantly, the weekly or biweekly or quarterly calls with one of the coaches, myself, or some of the people that I have training with me right now, those are the most important because it's like the trainer in the gym actually showing you how to lift that weight and do it the right way with the right form.
Got it. Makes total sense. Tell me on a shift, we don't have a ton of time, but I want to ask about B2B sales. I hear a lot of stuff about selling B2B, and they're just like, they're people, all this kind of stuff. But the decision making process, at least from my point of view, has been much longer because B2C is typically a salesperson to a person that's got the wallet, checkbook, credit card, whatever. Where B2B, there's multiple decision makers. So tell me how you work the sales training with B2B sales specifically.
So are you saying close the deal or how could you
Definitely
clarify the
close the
question?
deal.
Oh, okay. So, well, there's seven requirements to closing the sale. So if any one of the seven are out, then you will not close the sale. So the first and foremost, number one in the seven requirements of closing the sale is you have to have all decision makers present on that call. Because if not, and there's four decision makers in this organization and you have one on the call, that's their way out because they cannot make the decision, literally. So it's always having the decision makers present. They have to have the wherewithal. Like the company has to be doing enough revenue for them to be able to pay you the exchange. The critical exchange point is when somebody gives you the money for the value you're providing, right? So the decision maker, the wherewithal, they need to be sold on the product. They need to be sold on you, the company, like the salesperson. They need to have the confidence in the product. They need to have a written offer, like a proposal, and they have to have the urgency to buy. I can't tell you how many times when I was really mastering this that I did not have somebody that has the urgency. I had the decision makers, they had the money, they just they didn't have a time frame on when they wanted it. It was just like you're trying to beat a dead horse. Like they will not close, right? So if all those are in place, you can really speed up the sales process. But most salespeople are just trying to get the first deal, and they don't understand that 2% of sales take place on the first contact, and 80% take place between the fifth and the 12th contact. So if you just stuck in the game for a little longer, you probably would have gotten the deal. And then this brings me to the next point. No one thing blows a deal. I learned this from Cardone. When I learned this, the game changed for me because I wasn't afraid to push to lose the deal. Remember, the only reason you were afraid to lose the deal is because your pipeline's not big enough. You're not talking to enough people. So I ask hard questions on that call always. If they're not willing to answer my hard questions, it's not a real deal. I'd rather find out that it's not a real deal now versus 2 weeks into this process and then find out that they're not going to do the deal, right?
You got hours
So
invested and yeah, waste of time. Tell me
correct.
about the questions, the hard questions.
Well, I mean, other than yourself, who would be in charge of making decisions for the company? Why would you want to do this now? Why not 6 months ago? Why not 6 months from now? Why are you taking the time to take a look at this with me today? What's the number one biggest challenge that your guys are having where if I had a magic wand and I snapped my fingers and made that problem disappear, like what is that thing? If I made it disappear today, are you guys ready, willing, and able to take action right now? What's this costing you per month for not having this problem solved? Right?
I
And then
love
there's
it.
stuff that a lot of the stuff that comes up like I know I'm on the spot like they just won't give you answers. So amateurs ask questions, professionals get answers, professionals get results. So if they're not like what's the revenue of the business? That's none of your business, right? Well, listen, allow me to be a professional. In order for me to see if I can help you, allow me to, you know, put my finger on the pulse so that I can take your heart rate. Like if you went into a doctor and you had heart problems and you wouldn't let me check your pulse, I would not be able to professionally diagnose you. So allow me to be a professional, right? Like that's a hard conversation if you've never had it because it's uncomfortable. But you don't go into a doctor. So I really like to train people like you put your white lab coat on and you take your stethoscope and you start, figuring out where their pain is. What's the pain? Where does it hurt? How does it hurt? Is it burning? Right? Is it hot? Is it sharp? Right? And if they're not willing to answer those questions, I cannot diagnose the problem effectively, meaning I'm just a con man. I'm just another salesperson looking for a deal. That's not why I'm in the business. Right? So one of my
There-
mentors back when I was selling real estate, this is a great one. There's one difference between a con man and a sales professional. You know what it is? Intention. The con man wants what's best for the con man. The sales professional wants what's best for the client. So if you just put the
Nice.
client's, yeah, if you just put the client's needs first and you are asking them the questions that no other company or salesperson's asking, they'll respect you more, they'll trust you more, and really give you the information you need in order to help solve the problem for them to take you serious to give you the money so that you can start working.
Nice. I love it. Let me ask you about the out of those seven, the urgency one kind of stuck in my brain. Because that I can see. I was just joking about someone with this last month. Because we'll be talking to people, potential leads or potential clients and all that jazz. And they'll say, like, we're going to look at this after Thanksgiving, after Christmas, after New Year's, after second full moon, after unicorn passes, whatever. They always make up some, I shouldn't even say they make up. They use some arbitrary date or event that has nothing to do with what we're talking about to say, like, we're going to look at this after that. So, how do you address things like that that I guess you could call objectives?
Calling them out on their BS, you
All
know.
right.
They're you just like if you okay, so in the sales process, you greet, fact find, demo, close, follow up. You greet, you put the buyer at ease. Fact find is you're qualifying them. And in the qualification, if you've done a good enough job in fact finding, you'll know you'll know the answers because you should ask them, how long have you been experiencing this pain? Like, how long have you been experiencing this problem? Oh, for the last 3 years. So when I close on them and ask them for the appointment or the money, and they're like, "Oh, well, we're gonna wait till after January," dude, you've been waiting for the last 3 years, man. Come on, man, let's do this. Like I have the permission to now call them out on that,
All
right? So
right.
if you do a deep enough job in your qualification and you're asking those pin like you don't want to be a machine gun. I tell people you want to be a sniper, pew, like sniper, bang, because the questions you ask will be able to show them that you understand, that you really can help them, and that they need the help and they need to help themselves now. So, you know, um, we're going to wait till this time. If I already know in the qualifying questions that, listen, they've been experiencing this problem for the last, 6 months. It's costing them, what's one deal worth to you? 25 grand. Okay, how many deals are you missing out on because this problem's not solved right now? Probably five a month. Five times 25 is 125,000 a month. Dude, that's over, $1 million this year, dude. Like
You want to wait for a
if
month
you
for $1 million?
if you don't want to do this for another 6 months from now, listen, man, it's going to cost you a little over 600 grand. Like that's what I'm saying. You get to use the information and fact finding to show them, dude, there ain't no more time to wait, man. You want to do this or not? So you're leading the client up to one single point of decision. So you're, with a great presentation, the close comes naturally. And, you can always get into once you get to that point and they're like, no, 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 and they still don't want to do it, that's when you're like, look, man, what are you scared of? It's probably the money. They probably invested into something that didn't work, and you kind of just have to like clear them from, you have to control alt delete their last experience. You have to help walk them through it, and you have to have the conviction, the credibility, and the confidence and showing them that that's not going to be like the last experience they had. And, you know, make them make the decision themselves because you're not really selling them anything. They're selling themselves on why it would be the best opportunity for them to move forward with you.
I love that question. What are you scared of? That's a that's a ballsy question to ask, but a very productive one.
Or you,
Not wrong.
I mean, I know we're live, but I mean, hey, you think I'm full of, don't you? Right? Like, no, 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 absolutely not. Okay, man, but what's stopping you, man? Like, what are you scared of? That will separate the average from the great salespeople because remember, no one thing blows a deal. If they're serious, they're going to tell you why. Because there's four categories of objections. There's the price, a stall, the timing, or the money, or there could technically be the unspoken. And if they're giving you an unspoken objection, it's the most dangerous, meaning they're not telling you why they're not moving forward. So you have to suggest why they're not moving forward. Meaning, hey man, why like what are you scared of? I'm not scared, man. It's just the money. Boom. When you get down to the, okay, well, what do you mean by that? I just don't have it, man. I just don't have it. No problem, man. But if it wasn't for the money, like if this was free, you'd do it. Yeah. Dude, it makes it so easy, man. I got a payment plan. Let's do a two-pay option. Would that help you? Don't lower the price. Like, don't,
No.
like, most objections are just complaints and
Yeah.
they should be treated as reasons to close, right? Period. So, and it's just you have fun with it. You smile and just have fun and keep it light, and you're just helping that person make the decision. If you believe in yourself, your company, and why you do what you do, I promise you that person needs to act with you because if they don't, they're going to go spend it on Netflix, alcohol, drugs, or whatever they're going to do, or somebody of your competition that you know you can do it better. So you might as well help them make the decision now for you to help them in their business and in their life make more money, help more people, sell more product, whatever it is that they're doing.
Fair. I love it. I got two more questions for you here, Sean. Do you have a favorite sales movie?
Favorite sales movie? I love The Big Short, man. I love The Big Short.
Oh, it's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I really like The Big Short. I really do love that one.
I guess I never really thought of
Um,
that as a sales movie, but in the end, kind of is.
well, because you see, it's not necessarily sales, but like you see how they were selling us, like the consumers, and you can see like how bad and dark it could be. So it's like it shows you how to sell yourself on like, dude, you have to be moral, ethical, and responsible in this game of sales because if not, look how bad it gets, and look how it just gets ugly. Like you don't want to not sleep at night. I learned so much just from watching that movie because like I would never do that. Like I was
Yeah.
in the real estate business. I know lenders, and there's people that would want to do business with me, and I just the way they talk, the way they act, and I was just like, hey man, it's just not the right fit, right? So I'd say
Fair.
The Big Short. Yeah.
All right. That's cool. Next one is in my world, and in just about every other salesperson that I know. At some point, they have been called shyster, huckster, smoozer, schmoozer. What does my wife always say? She's like, "You're gonna go schmoozing tonight when you're going to go some networking event or something like that." I'm gonna go. I'm gonna
Right.
hang out with sharks, stuff like that. How do you feel when somebody says something like that to you?
I don't care
All right, fair.
because
I love it.
because that's how they feel about themselves.
Oh, true
because
story.
they're sell because they're selling themselves short on why they can't get in the same rooms and make the same amount of money, if not more, and become the best human being they possibly become. So if that triggers you, remember your internal world is a direct reflection of your external world. So if you believe you're either selling or you're being sold, and you need to stay sold, is what Grant Cardone says. So if you
Stay.
sell yourself on
Say it again. Stay sold.
sell or be sold and stay sold.
Okay.
You need to stay sold on your product, who you are as a person, who you are as a business, all of those things. So if you believe that you're a shyster or you're a washed up salesperson or you're just trying to get to the next deal, when somebody says that, you're going to take it to heart. You're going to take it personal, which that's how you know you need you got to do some work. You have to go back and sell yourself on, dude, I'm a great salesperson. I'm an ethical, moral person that's going to help somebody make decisions. I have a product that people will love because it's going to change their lives because of this, and that. I know my stuff is so good that it changed my life. I promise and guarantee it'll change somebody else's. I know that because I've done it. I've experienced it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what's ever going on in here is directly out there. So make sure you're good with you in here, and out here you'll start to see a direct reflection because it's all a mirror. It's all a mirror.
Fair. Totally fair. I asked because this is quite a few years ago. I was trying to sell a truck, not a used car lot or anything, just a truck that I had. And this group of three people came to me. It was a husband, wife, and then a sister of the wife. Parents had passed away, left them a farm, and they needed to buy a truck. And so it was a little Nissan Frontier thing, a lot of miles, kind of beat up. And I met them at a parking lot of a place that I was going to teach a business planning class. And so I didn't have a whole lot of time. So, anyways, I asked them, who is paying for this? And they all looked at each other like, oh, well, we don't really know who's paying for this. So I was like, well, this sale's not going to happen because nobody know who's going to pay for the truck. So I got to go teach this class. Anyways, I left them my card and I'm like, you chat it over, you figure it out, and then if you're interested, give me a call, shoot me an email, whatever. Anyways, one of the people, I don't forget if it was the sister or the wife, emails me, but she intended to email the other person saying this James guy's a little huckster. And I had to look up the word huckster because I'm like, I don't even know what that means. But it was funny because whatever it means, where it's essentially not a very high level sales or not a very ethical salesperson, I guess is what you would call it. And I was thinking, like, man, that's kind of insulting because I didn't even try to sell them. I thought there's no way this is being sold to you guys. So I kind of just left. I got to go teach my class. But it's so interesting because then I respond back, like, I think you sent this to the wrong person. And it was just one of those, like, huh, I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong and wasn't planning on selling them the vehicle until they figured out. I even told them, I'm like, if you guys want, because this is a little farmette their parents left them. I said, if you guys want, come to the planning class that I have going on right now. There's no cost. It's for this nonprofit that I was working with. Just and map out your business plan of whatever you're going to do with this farmette thing, because it sounds like there's a lot of answers and questions that you don't even know where to begin. So it was just kind of funny that to be called that and like, man, I don't even know what I could have done to lead that accusation. But in the end, it's like whatever. Good luck.
Well, so a lot of well, that's glad that you brought it up because the other person is probably lying, cheating, and stealing from themselves, right? And that's something that most people get the opinions again. It goes back to the opinions are the cheapest commodity on earth, right? So what somebody like, and I can vouch for this. I try to do this practice where I'm not enlightened. Everybody else is enlightened. Everybody else is Jesus, God, and Buddha, whatever. Everyone's enlightened but me. And the more that I get told something from someone, I'm like, huh, I get to see what's going on, right? It's a really good practice. And the reason I bring it up is because if like where else is that showing up in your life? Is there something you robbed yourself of that day that you should have done? Did you not do the laundry and tell yourself that you were going to do it and you lied to yourself and didn't keep your word, right? Did you not make your bed and you knew you should have made it, right? Did you tell your kids that you would take them out to ice cream and then never did it, right? So like where else is that thing showing up? Because if you can't figure that piece out, it's going to keep showing up out here and until you like the universe is like, dude, come on, man. Like we're gonna keep doing this on repeat until until you get it, right?
Yeah,
So it's great too. But if you could just put that in perspective, most of the listeners, like if you can just put what people say to you are typically projections of their own selves. And if you feel like that's you, then that's something you need to heal inside of you. You got to give it attention. That's why you got to take full responsibility for everything good, bad, not your fault, everything. Because if you take responsibility for them saying it, then there's like you are not the victim no more. And victim is the lowest level of consciousness, right? You're beyond that. It's now how can I solve the challenge of me feeling that way? And now you like cleared that out. Now you can be this new person that you're not affected by that. Now you have new space to bring in new thoughts for new opportunity and new scenarios and situations.
I love it. I love it. That's you raise an interesting point because I think about my kid when somebody calls a name, and I said, if some kid called you stupid, what would you think? And then he tells me the reaction. I said, well, what if somebody called you a lamppost? And he was like, what? Like it doesn't even register. I'm like, if somebody calls you stupid and it registers, that means somewhere in your head you think you're stupid. So if somebody
Exactly.
calls you X, Y, or Z and it's registering and you're offended by it, that's because in some level you believe that. Where if they call you a lamppost or a lampshade or some obscure thing, like you're a ceiling fan, like I don't even know what that means, right?
Right. I love
That's
that.
that's how you understand where you are on a subconscious level. So
I
it's
love that
interesting where what did you say about victim? Victim is the lowest. I forget what you said.
level of consciousness.
Level that's perfect. Perfect. Yeah. I like that. Sean, I think we should end it there. That's super cool.
Excellent, man.
Where can people find you?
Look me up on social media, Instagram, Sean.Ginsburg, Sean.Ginsburg.
All right. Awesome. And is there a website at all?
Um, I have a bunch of landing pages. I mean, there's ginsburgrealty.com. There's link me on my Instagram. Just click that. There's 1,000 links on there for all types of different stuff.
All right. Super cool. And what part of California are you in?
San Diego.
Oh, beautiful San Diego. I love San Diego. Oh, So you're safe
gorgeous.
from fires and all that jazz.
Yes, thank God. My hearts go out to those people up there. Man, that is
Yeah.
crazy out there. It's like an apocalypse, man. It's nuts. It's really busy down here right now because of the fires, actually. I haven't seen traffic like this in years. It's
Oh, like
gnarly.
people are migrating down.
Big time. Oh yeah.
Oh, interesting. Well, I can't say I blame
Yeah.
them. San Diego's a pretty kick-ass city.
It is beautiful here. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's hard to leave.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sean.
Likewise, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You bet. This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. My name is James Cademan, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Sean Ginsburg of SG Consulting. Sean, can you tell us that Instagram handle one more time?
Sean.Ginsburg, Sean.Ginsburg.
Perfect. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.